Welcome to It Takes Heart. I'm Sam Miklos.
And I'm Kate Coomber.
We hope you enjoy these incredible stories of healthcare professionals making a difference in communities across Australia and beyond.
Through our conversations, we look to celebrate the spirit of community and care.
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land who have long practiced and shared ancient methods of healing, providing care and support for their communities with wisdom passed down through generations.
Join us as we explore what it truly means to take heart.
So, welcome Dinesh.
Hi.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome OAM and Queensland Australian of the Year, Dr. Dinesh Palipana. Dinesh is a living demonstration of breaking down society barriers, particularly in the world of medicine. Dinesh was the first medical intern in Queensland with quadriplegia. He has reshaped the potential for not only graduating from medical school with a disability, but working as an emergency doctor. Born in Sri Lanka in 1984, civil war, corruption and poverty shaped his early years and were the lens through which he encounters some of the biggest events in his life. On the Brisbane motorway in 2010, when Dinesh was in medical school, his car spun out of control and he watched himself and his life literally being turned upside down. His medical training halted in that instant and he would spend the years that followed recovering as a patient with a spinal cord injury. Today, Dinesh is a lawyer, a founding member of Doctors with Disabilities Australia. He's completed a clerkship at Harvard University. He's a senior lecturer at Griffith University and a spinal cord injury researcher. He currently also works in the emergency department at Gold Coast University Hospital. He is a senior advisor to the Disability Royal Commission and an ambassador to the Human Rights Commission's Includability Program. He is an author and his book, Stronger, is an inspiring read. And I've got to be honest, Kate and I have loved it. Kate has read it twice. I think it's a third. I think she's on to her third. I know she's downloaded it twice for sure, but we absolutely loved it. Dinesh loves cars. He's a risk taker. He's got a good sense of humour from that book and perhaps is the only Sri Lankan, I believe, who was not into cricket. But when it all comes down to it, it was Grey's Anatomy that got him into medicine because in his words, the doctors got all the cute girls. And we might find out later if it was McDreamy or McSteamy that you were channeling, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. So here today to talk about purpose and inclusion and how important it is to have the right people working in healthcare. A big welcome to Dinesh to It Takes Heart.
Thank you. Wow, that's a massive introduction. The expectations are going to be high.
They are so high.
I'm nervous.
No, you can deliver. You can deliver. Right, we've built you up.
I think before we get started, we can really get a sense for the passion that you bring to so many different projects. You seem to fit a lot of things into a working week. Mm-hmm. I guess we're really interested. We saw you're in Darwin this week. You just mentioned you've got an event tonight. What does a typical week look like?
And how do you do it all?
Yeah, how do you do it?
Every week is different. Every day is different.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why I love life. You know, I think I never like doing the same thing every single day. Mm. So today I feel really lucky because, like you said, I was in Darwin earlier this week and we were doing some work around some of the new human rights legislation around a positive duty for organisations to enact some of the human rights obligations. So I was up there connecting with the community. It's so nice, right? Because Darwin, there's a lot of need in the Northern Territory. There's a lot of work to be done. Yeah. So to be there and then to come home and to join you today. Yeah. And then I'm working in the ED on the weekend and joining a radio show on Saturday morning. So life is really good. Yeah. And I feel very, very, very blessed and gifted.
Fantastic. So let's start at the beginning and take you back to Sri Lanka when you were growing up. Growing up in Sri Lanka, how did that shape, I guess, who you are today and how you faced all the challenges that life has thrown at you and the opportunities as well?
Yeah. Well, I feel like my life has been very serendipitous. Mm-hmm. And Sri Lanka, once upon a time, was called Serendip. So I think the story is Sri Lanka was found by chance by some explorer, and they call it Serendip. because of the serendipity and the beauty of the island.
Yeah.
And I feel that it's appropriate because my life, I feel, has been very serendipitous. And a part of that was growing up in Sri Lanka. For life, I think perspective is really important. We live in a big city. We live in a prosperous state. We have everything, right? We have good roads. We have the internet. We have everything. We have food. Like, we can choose what we eat.
Yes.
It's amazing. We can choose what we wear. And for a lot of people on this planet, that is not an option. They don't get to choose what they eat, if they eat at all. They don't have the internet. They don't have a car to drive on a road. So we get to live here, right? And I think growing up in Sri Lanka made me live amongst the people who don't have these options. So I think when we're having a rough day, or when, stuck in traffic today for a while, but those problems don't seem like problems at all, because then you look around and go, actually, I'm in a car and I'm driving to do something that I've chosen to do, and I'm well fed. I'm wearing what I want to, and those are wins in the big scheme of things. So if I could take away the biggest thing in Sri Lanka, it's actually the fact that it gave me perspective.
And I think perspective can be difficult to hold at certain times in your life. And I know that you referenced and were quite candid about your experience with depression before your spinal injury, and you mentioned feeling even more paralysed by that. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you mean there?
It's a really timely question, because, we're talking about medicine too, right? And in medicine, I have seen many colleagues that have gone through depression. We've lost colleagues to depression, and we continue to lose colleagues to depression. And I think that this is a thing that is pervasive through all levels of society. It's present everywhere, and I don't think it's something that we're still dealing with it at more than a surface level. And we do some nice things, like we have the little morning teas and bits and pieces.
Are you okay days? And
But when it comes to actually doing something when it matters, do we do that? I don't think so. I don't think we stick up for our friends and colleagues. I don't think the human resources systems are set up properly. I don't think so. So I've gone through this myself. And to be honest, it's something that I'm really grateful for, because it taught me what depression is. When I started to go through it, it was the early 2000s. We didn't really have these conversations that we are today about depression. And even for my friends and family, the people around me, it was the old question, you have such a good life. Why are you depressed?
Why? Yeah. Possibly because of things you referenced earlier of, we're fed, we've got a roof, we've got access to all of these things. How can that be?
Exactly. But I was. And I was profoundly depressed. I was profoundly low. I had an anxiety disorder and a panic disorder. I was agoraphobic. Didn't leave the house. I was a shell of who I am today, literally. But I think our soul is so powerful, right? The body, if we look at people like Stephen Hawking or Christopher Reeve, or there are many people in this planet whose bodies were so affected, actually by injuries like mine, but they've really let their soul shine, and they've changed the direction of humanity. So I think our soul is a really powerful thing, and we need that. We need our soul to be free and happy, to be connected, to be in tune. And those days, I think that's what I didn't have, because my world was dark.
Yeah.
And everything, I think the world is a reflection of who we are inside as well. So everything was affected. Like I didn't, I was love ice cream.
Yeah.
And
I remember Neapolitan, you eat the chocolate and then the strawberry goes in the bin. Same with me.
Yeah. Strawberry sucks.
And if you're desperate, the vanilla gets a ride. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, just eat a real strawberry. Yeah. So last night I was eating some chocolate ice cream and it was so good. Like it was, my mum was there and I was just saying, oh my God, this is amazing. And like I enjoy the small things like that now.
It's true gratitude, isn't it?
And it's and a friend of mine said recently, I've never seen someone enjoy an apple so much. But when I had depression, I could not taste the food. Today is so beautiful, like the sky is blue and the temperature's perfect, the sun's out. I didn't see that. Every day was grey. And so I think I was just floating in this world like a ghost.
Yeah.
And I struggled with university. I struggled with relationships. I struggled with friendships. I struggled with everything.
Yeah.
And to me, that was paralysis.
Yeah.
I was paralyzed.
Yeah.
I've had the spinal cord injury now for 14 years. And like it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Waking up in that intensive care bed, paralyzed. I had this moment where I just wanted to run away. Like I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to face this. I didn't want this to be happening. I thought, I just want to run away right now. But I couldn't run away. And I felt trapped.
Yeah.
But that was 14 years ago. In the last 14 years, I've done so many things. I've written a book. It's actually getting turned into a TV series at the moment.
Is it?
Oh, congratulations.
We're still a few steps to go.
Amazing.
Still a few steps
We could be
go.
extras, 100%.
Yeah, exactly, totally, yeah.
We're like there. Well,
Yeah.
we were going to talk to you about all the big things that you do because I hear as well you're a bit of a daredevil.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been skydiving. I've been parasailing. I've done heaps of different things. Last week, actually, on the weekend, there's a restaurant in Brisbane that's it's attached to the side of the Powerhouse Museum.
Oh, wow. I
saw
didn't know
that.
that.
So you sit on the seats and there's nothing between you and the ground on one side.
Oh, wow.
So I had dinner there. But like life is amazing. I'm so grateful for life. I have a great time. And so I guess the point of all that is I compare often the time I had depression to my life after the spinal cord injury. And it makes me think that, as long as I have my soul, I can do anything. And that's why I think for me, depression was a lot more paralyzing than the spinal cord injury has been, because it was a time when I was too scared to leave the house.
Yeah. And you really found your purpose. And I know for you that purpose is really important. And, you wanted to touch on that today. Define that purpose. Like, what is that? What does that look like now? And is it purpose in medicine or purpose in general? Is it a bigger purpose?
It's a great question. I think, so there's this saying, actually it's a haiku. I'm terrible with poetry, like I don't get poetry. And so I don't know anything about haikus, but I know this one. And it goes, my barn having burnt down, I can see the moon. So when I had depression, I think it was a time when I had to strip away. We build up all these layers in our lives, right? Like I was talking to a friend recently, and we've all seen this where we go through life and we accumulate things. Mm-hmm. We accumulate, okay, I've got my car now, I've got my house, and I've got this job where I have this title, and I have I have my belongings and this and that. I have my social status.
Yeah.
But it actually means nothing, right?
Yeah.
And I was only in my early 20s, but I had certain things that I was holding on to. But when I had depression, I lost it all. And I needed to lose it all, because I think to see the moon, you actually have to burn down your barn. And this has happened to me a couple of times in my life. So yeah, I think I just had to let all that go to find myself again. And the way I found myself is actually when I started seeing a doctor. And I came out of the depression. And I always quote this, which is a saying that my mom loves to say, and that's by helping one person, we may not change the world, but we will change the world for them. To me, is there anything purer in this world than making an impact on someone's life in a positive way? Because that's the whole world, right? I think within each of us, there's a whole universe.
Yeah.
And to help a human being to make a positive impact on someone in need, I think is really pure. There's a purity to that. And for me, that's what life is about. I was those days before the depression, I was always thinking about what I could have, what I could take, what I wanted. I wanted I wanted the car and the house and all this stuff. And that became my focus. But I realized that actually it's not about what we take from this world at all. That's not happiness.
Yeah.
It's about what we can give.
Yeah.
And so that's what resonates with me the most.
I think you've got a lot to offer the younger generation in terms of that. I think that really resonates. You know, we've both got young children, and, you know, I can see the impact you could have on young people in this very fast, collecting, quick win world that they're growing up in. And I think that that's a really important thing, to make them stop and realize what
everything's on demand.
You know, everyone's working to the next step, and they need to be the next thing, as you mentioned. But what are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we doing? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You'll have to come speak at the kids' school.
Can I shift gears a little to medicine?
Yeah.
In your book, actually, you mentioned a lot about like the right people in medicine.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, from our agency perspective, it's making sure that we are getting the right people that have really got heart and can really connect in the communities they're going to. When you talk about the right people in healthcare, what makes the right person? And what have you on what makes the wrong person, maybe, you know, whichever lens is easier?
I think there's a lot to this. First of all, like especially today, we talk about the pressures that the health system is under. We talk about I work in an emergency department. We talk about the emergency department loads. We talk about all these things. But there's also a saying that he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. So I think purpose is really important. And I think in medicine, first and foremost, it has to be people that find purpose in it and they're grounded in purpose. Our purpose is actually human beings. That is the reason we exist. I think medicine for the longest time have been very paternalistic. We've dictated, we've prescribed, we've told our patients what to do. Is that the right way for medicine? Probably not anymore, I don't think, because we exist to serve our patients. There's a speech attributed to Mahatma Gandhi from many, many years ago. And it's I don't know if he actually said it, and I don't know why, in what context he would have made this speech, but it's about customer service.
Yeah, right.
And he says that the purpose of our existence, if you're running a business or something, the customer is not an interruption to it, but rather the purpose to it. And he goes on to say why we exist. So I think in medicine, we need people who are grounded in that purpose. We're here to serve, and the patient is the reason we exist. And I think if you have that, then you find the joy and the resilience and the strength to keep going through the hard times. I think we have to be giving not just to our patients, but to our colleagues as well.
Yeah.
Of late, I've come across many situations where we've had colleagues who are struggling, but we're quick to alienate them when that time comes. How can we serve our patients if we're not serving our colleagues as well?
Yeah.
So I think we need to be giving, we need to be selfless, we need to be purposeful, and we need to realize that this is not about us.
Yeah. So I was surprised then to read in your book that you would only go into a hospital if you were dying. How, having been a patient, now a doctor in emergency, how do you reconcile those two perspectives?
It's crazy, right?
Like that, I actually had to go back and read that a few times, and then I emailed it to myself. I was like, oh God, I need to understand this more.
But I'm scared. Like even now, I'm scared to be a patient in a hospital. And I think it's because I spent so long in hospitals. We read some of the stories. We've read some of the investigations. We see things in the media. It is hard being a patient in a hospital. It's disempowering. And sometimes you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And even the physical environment, it's noisy. There are lots of people. It's scary.
Yeah.
And
whilst you're at your most vulnerable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, it wasn't like I went in with a broken leg or something. I was paralyzed, stuck in the bed. And there were things that happened during that stay that were really difficult.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to, it scares me. It scares me to go back to that place. But it's, I've had the privilege of contributing some regular little bits and pieces at Stanford University.
Yeah.
So in 2018, they had Stanford Medicine X, which is like a TED type event. And I went to talk there and there was a workshop, and it was a really interesting workshop where they had doctors and patients, and they got them to talk to each other. And some of the patients with chronic diseases, they said, I'm so scared to go to a hospital right now. And I thought that was really interesting, in that a lot of people with chronic diseases share that experience. But where is the breakdown of that therapeutic relationship?
And what needs to
what
change?
is the solution, you know?
Like
It's
systemically, even in terms of these facilities, there's change. When you talk about the noise and the environments themselves haven't evolved. If you think about schools and the evolution of the education system and that, but a lot of those hospitals are still very similar. There's a lot that can be changed.
But I think it's like if we can do better on the human face, because it's people, right? It's people that we invest in. It's people that we trust.
Yeah.
It's people. So if we can do better as people, then I think we might start to bridge that.
Yeah.
I guess if we talk inclusion, and I think you said in your book, a human can't be broken. It's society and the structures that limit people. And if you think back to when you graduated, it was really sort of the 11th hour.
Friday, I think.
Friday.
You had to go get the clothes on the weekend.
And, you know, you've got senior clinicians, you've got peers, people doubting your ability to really contribute in the medical world. How do you think we can improve that moving forward for people to really foster that genuine culture of inclusivity in healthcare?
There are a number of points to that question, which I think is important. Disability or not, we are at a time in society, the Industrial Revolution's gone, right? We have all these things, so we don't need factory workers performing this set task at a set time. We need to harness people's strengths, and everyone has different strengths.
Yeah.
Everyone has different things that they enjoy.
Yeah.
Everyone, whether you have a spinal cord injury or not. So why don't we harness those people? Why don't we be flexible in the workplace? Why don't we come to 2024 and do that? It's the same in medicine. Not everyone does neurosurgery. Not everyone does anesthesia. Not everyone does C-sections. You know, I have a friend who only operates on a very specific joint in the body. And I talked to him about another joint recently, and he's like, don't know.
That's outside of my remit.
Yeah. So, you know, I think we just need to help people find their way to the right spot. In medicine, sure, you got to have a general knowledge of everything, but I think we just need to rethink. Does everyone need to do CPR? Not really. Like, we have machines that do that. In a big hospital, there are plenty of people that will do that. What do we need? We need people to think through, why has this person had a cardiac arrest? And what do we do next? Because all of us in this room could do CPR if we're taught for a couple of hours, right?
Yeah.
So we need to think about things differently. Then I think we need to think about, why is this actually important? Well, first and foremost, I think it's a human rights issue. We've agreed as humanity through treaties and statutes and all these things that, this is a human rights issue. Everyone has the right to be educated. Everyone has the right to be employed. We've agreed on those things. But I think we need to, we have to talk to all sides of society, right?
Yeah.
And there are valid arguments for all sides of society. And one is that it makes economic sense. We have seen the diverse workplaces to have less absenteeism.
Yeah.
We have seen it to be more productive, more profitable, happier. And we've invested so much in the NDIS in this country. I think the budget is starting to eclipse that of Medicare at the moment, which is a separate issue. But if we are to get the bang for our buck with the NDIS, it's about finding people employment as well.
Yeah.
And in medicine, this is important too, because what we need are not more factory workers as doctors. What we need are passionate people who want to contribute, who have specific skill sets that they're good at. If we can do that, then medicine will really, really thrive. We will reflect modern society. And I think it will actually start bridging the therapeutic relationship that we've broken over time as well. Otherwise, medicine's going to get left behind.
Yeah.
I guess if you think of all of those things, you know, we can see how passionate you are, and clearly the interactions that you must have with your patients must be so impactful. If you're reflecting on your medical career to date, what's the moment that really stands out to you of where you're like, do you know what? I really am proud of that moment. I really made a big difference there.
I have so many
I bet you
moments
do.
like that. Yeah,
It doesn't have to be one.
Yeah, that's why I say, I mean, I have a great time and I'm so grateful for life. There are a couple that I'll share with you. One is, actually, it's probably a string of experiences with patients, and it's revolved around, you know, I knew that you would understand. I'm so glad that you're my doctor because I know that you get what I'm going through. So those kind of moments, those kind of interactions, it makes the entire journey worthwhile. And I'm so grateful to those patients. And they remind me why I'm here. We spoke about some of the structural challenges that we had organizationally and with senior staff in the past. But here's the thing, I have seen thousands of patients now going into my 8th year as a doctor. Never had one who said, I don't think you can do your job. Never. Which is surprising to me. Yeah. But I think it tells us that society has probably progressed a lot more than
we realize sometimes.
Yeah, it's a good sign.
The second thing is, I think it's been seeing other medical students coming through who have spinal cord injuries or have disability.
Yeah.
I was in Melbourne a little while ago, and I caught up with 3 medical students, and all 3 of them had disability. 2 of them used wheelchairs, and 1 was walking with sticks.
Yeah.
And one of them said that they're from overseas, and they just saw a YouTube video of me. And after they had their own injury, they said, you know what, I think I can do that too. So like that is, I would do this all over again.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah.
To be able to inspire others and change their lives.
It's totally worth it. So I think those are the moments that, I told myself before I got into medical school that if in this entire journey and life I can make one impact on a person, then it'll be all worth it. So thankfully it's
well worth it.
Yeah.
Well worth it. So globally there's a shortage of healthcare professionals. And the incoming AMA Queensland president last week was just saying that they're looking for innovative ways to attract and retain doctors and also address those burnout concerns as well. How do you think we could be tackling these big issues, attraction, retention, burnout?
Yeah.
We don't need to give them all the answers here, but...
My classmate, Dr. Nick Yim, yes, we went to medical school together.
Right.
So he's a great guy.
Yeah,
we've known each other for a long time. I mean, yeah, we do have to. It's also not just about medical schools, but it's about getting people into training programs. It's about thinking differently about who we attract.
Yeah.
Medicine is cognitively challenging. So I understand why we want people who can, who welcomes that challenge. But at the same time, like it's also about a myriad of other skills that we need as well. So I do think we need to think widely about who, and there are 1 in 6 people with disability in this country. So, why not? Like, why not consider broadening that? So we do need to think differently about how to do that. And even with workforce shortages and things, like we always jump to the quick answer. We always jump to, but I think we don't always think about what the good, sustainable long-term solutions are. I think we need to think very differently and innovatively.
Yeah.
Did I remember you saying that you're now a trainee of ACRM?
So, very proud trainee of ACRM,
Australian College of Rural Remote Medicine.
Yeah.
I guess, where do you hope that's going to take you, and where are you at with that, and what's the next steps?
It's been a very interesting journey in that the career pathway. So when I finished medical school, I started working towards radiology, and I thought radiology would be a good career in that. Without the use of my hands or fingers, it might be good. And there were a lot of radiologists that were supportive of my career, but there were also some that were very resistant. But it just got me thinking, I like seeing patients. I just like that face-to-face contact as well. So I had this conversation with a doctor in our emergency department one night where she said, why don't you consider doing emergency medicine? So I thought, okay, that's, and that kind of opened the door for me to think about that. So started thinking about that and then switched. And but the College of Emergency Medicine are probably not quite there yet. And then I went to a couple of rural medicine conferences. And I met the rural generalists, and I thought, wow, these guys are amazing.
Yeah.
And it actually made me think back to one of the reasons that I wanted to do medicine is, obviously the people, but I thought of medicine is something where you can go anywhere in the world and do something for someone. And ACRM is actually the perfect, that is what they equip you to do.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't the first thing that I thought of. And actually it wasn't something that was at the forefront of my mind, but it took a journey to find that. But now I feel like it's actually the perfect place for me.
Yeah.
For a lot of those reasons. And also the college is very adaptive, which I guess is what rural generalists are.
Yes.
They're adaptive, flexible, forward-thinking people. And I'm really excited to be a part of the college because I think they can really equip you to make an impact on places that need it the most.
Yeah.
I think I read you said something along the lines of rural generalist doctors practice the most truest medicine, really.
I mean, yeah, they do so much with so little, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Completely.
So I've been in a study group with ACRM, and the way the scenarios work and the changes that the scenarios take and the flexibility they expect of you, and the type of thinking, it's actually really exciting and challenging. And I think that it's perfect. I really love it.
Yeah. So will that see you going out on placements and?
Well, I took a flying lesson a couple of years ago. So
Of course you did.
There's a flying school down in Melbourne for people with spinal cord injury. It's called Wheelies with Wings.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I took one flying lesson there, and I want to get a pilot's license.
Yeah.
Because that's the ultimate. Yeah.
And then you can just fly out to wherever, out to Mount Isa for a bit, back in.
Yeah, there is actually a doctor that does that. He has a plane and he flies around from Cairns, I think, somewhere like that. Yeah. So I want to do that one day. It's on the list of things.
What else is on the list? Because you've accomplished a lot.
To go to space.
To go to space.
Yeah, I actually really want to go to space.
Do you?
Yeah. I have a friend who builds rockets.
Right.
It's not Elon. It's not Elon.
There's a little name drop in there.
Yeah.
It's Elon.
No, not Elon. I don't know Elon, I must say.
Yet. You don't know him yet.
Yeah. Maybe he'll listen to the podcast.
He'll listen to this.
Yeah.
We're going to do, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll tag him.
But no, they build rockets in Queensland, actually. And they have their first launch this year, I think.
Wow.
But I have made him promise me to send me to space at some point. So
Yeah, wow.
yeah,
that's amazing. That's proper bucket list.
Well, I think one of the reasons is I like to see how far I can stretch myself. Because that's one of the fun parts about life, right? You want to see.
You definitely get that sense
that
you're really pushing the envelope with everything that you do.
I want to see I want to see. I want to see how far I can go, and but I think it's also important for us to show society, what is disability.
Yeah.
Have a think about it. This is what can be done. What do you think? So that's the other reason why I think it's important, and for the kids, I met a lot of parents with kids who have disability over time, and they, like my mum still, I turned 40 this year, and I think I'll always be a little kid to her. Yeah. But when you talk to parents, they want the best for their kids, right? They want a good future. They worry about what will happen to them. They might be 5 years old, they might be 7 years old, but you can see the weight on their heart. So I think it's important for the kids as well. Maybe more than me. Yeah.
Have those role models. Well, look, thank you so much. We know you've got a busy night coming up. We really appreciate you taking that bit of time with us today. I think we could
talk to you for hours. We haven't.
I'm sure that we will have that opportunity. But thank you so much. We really want to shine a light on a charity of your choice today by not only donating $500 to that charity, but also raising a bit of awareness? What charity is that for you today?
So there are a few that I support, and I think there's so many people doing amazing work out in the community. But I think the one that I'll actually shine a light on today is the Gold Coast Titans, who do a lot of work around disability. So we have a disability team.
Okay.
And it's really growing. And the reason why I think this is important is because we need inclusion, and we need to demonstrate inclusion across a range of things. So whether it be medicine, whether it be education, whether it be other kinds of employment, fashion, art, sport is an important one too. Yeah. And I think for an NRL team to take this on board and to have it on their heart, and to support all these guys who come and play rugby.
Yeah.
And you can see the joy that it brings and the connection that it brings, the cohesion for their family, the change to their health, the way it opens up employment opportunities or education opportunities. So I think sport is really important, and it's a good vehicle, especially in Australia, where it's been our national language for so long to do that. So the Gold Coast Titans would be the one, and their charitable arm. You know, the thing with any of these sports actually is its ability to bring communities together, I think.
Yeah.
And the cohesion that it creates. For me, the Titans, the way they bring the community together, especially such a diverse community like Gold Coast.
Yeah.
I think it has warmed my heart.
That's fantastic. I love it.
So good.
Dinesh, to quote your mum, you cannot change the world, but for one person, you certainly can. And you are just such an inspiration, sitting here. And before we'd even met you, having read your book and just all of the things that you've achieved, but just you're so deep and philosophical. And there's so many lessons from you around not just inclusion, but even leadership and the way that you think is just amazing. So I'm so grateful that we were able to have you here today. And I just really hope that those that listen to this podcast, like, it just starts a conversation, a different conversation around inclusion, and particularly in healthcare. And if we can have more people like yourself in healthcare that have just got that purpose and that real heart, like, just the difference that will make is just amazing. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's been so good chatting to you, and thank you for being you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to share, rate, and review. This allows us to reach more people and share more incredible stories. Click the follow or subscribe button to ensure you never miss an episode.